micro, nano education for everyone.
We got two super awesome presentations. I think I actually have 3 or 4 presenters. I think we're going to start with Jill Zande, who is the director of the MATE ROV program. I'm going to let her talk to you about what MATE ROV is and opportunities that can happen. So thanks, Jill.
Hey, Jared, thank you. As Jared said, I am Jill Zande. I am the president and executive director of MATE Inspiration for Innovation and the director, manager, co-founder of the MATE ROV Competition. And so I'm excited to share with you information about the competition. As I understand it, I think, Jared, correct me if I'm wrong, there are several mentors and potential students who are on this call who are going to be forming a MATE team this year. Is that right?
Yeah, there's going to be the PCC team. And then I'm hoping that people who are interested in this, we could connect and we can put them in remotely while we're working on it in our lab. And then hopefully by next year, we can create a couple of teams with the different mentors here.
I would absolutely love that. So, okay, well, good. Well, I'm excited. Hopefully I can motivate, as Jared said, additional community college students and mentors to look at MATE and consider this. It is, it's an undergraduate research experience. And some of you might think, oh, this is a little, how can you consider a ROV competition an undergraduate research experience? But I think there's plenty of us on the line here that appreciate that NSF and others are trying to broaden that definition of what an undergraduate research experience is to include these team-based programs like the MATE ROV Competition, which is about designing and building an underwater robot. It's a lot of engineering and a whole lot more. So with that, I want to start off just telling a little bit about MATE Inspiration for Innovation, my organization. I recognize several people on the call that might be more familiar with the Marine Advanced Technology Education Center, which is the organization that really inspired and created MATE Inspiration for Innovation. We are a 501c3 nonprofit corporation, and we were founded in 2016 to support and sustain the educational activities that were developed by the Marine Advanced Technology Education Center, which is a longtime center funded by the Advanced Technological Education Program at NSF. It's since sunsetted, I guess that's the word to use, December 31st, 2020, that ended the last ATE grant that supported the MATE Center. So we've fully transitioned, if you will, to MATE Inspiration for Innovation. And again, our primary, as it says on the slide, our primary motivation was to really keep the ROV competition going. But in doing that, that also includes professional development workshops, the development of instructional materials, and our CMATE online store, which I'll cover a little bit later. So what is an ROV? This might be really rudimentary, but I think after the last comment about blockchains and all sorts of things, perhaps it's not rudimentary. I have come to appreciate that not everybody is immersed in my world, immersed, pun intended. I like to use a lot of marine puns here. So I tend to start off with what is an ROV? Again, sorry if it's really elementary, but I want you to appreciate that an ROV is a remotely operated vehicle. It's a type of underwater robot. It's one of many different types of underwater technologies, underwater robots that range from AUVs, which are autonomous underwater vehicles, to sea gliders, to autonomous surface vessels. There's a whole range of underwater technologies that fall under the broader category of underwater robot. What distinguishes an ROV is that it has a tether to the surface. So it's tethered to the surface, it's got a connection to the surface, and that tether is what provides it with power from the surface and also with the control. So there are what we call pilots. We took a lot of terminology from the aircraft and the aviation industry. So there are pilots that sit on the surface and fly the ROV, and those control signals go down the tether or the umbilical. It's also called that. Now, that doesn't mean to say that ROVs can't have autonomous functions or behave autonomously like auto depth, auto heading. But again, it's that tether to the surface where real people on the surface control the ROV. ROVs are used in a variety of fields. I've listed several here. You can see the photos. I love the fantastic photo in the upper right slide. That's an ROV that's run by NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. You can see Sebastian down below. That's actually an ROV that's operated by Schmidt Ocean Institute. Schmidt Ocean Institute was founded by Eric and Wendy Schmidt of Google. So Google has an interest here in ocean stuff. You can see one of the slides, ROVs being launched to support offshore wind farms. The bottom lower right-hand picture is an ROV that's supporting offshore aquaculture by inspecting an offshore aquaculture pen. And then that photo in the center with the students with the bright yellow vests on, that was from our MATE ROV Competition World Championship that took place in August at East Tennessee State University. So ROVs are also used in education. And I should point out that while we're all about underwater robots here with the MATE competition, it really is more than just about the robot. It's about the development of skills. And while we use ROVs to impart these skills, to impart technical skills and all of the other, what we call employability, soft skills, 21st century workplace skills, whatever label you want to put on them. But that's really what it's all about. So while, we promote, we highlight all of these activities that happen in the maritime sector, our students go on to a variety of other careers and to support a variety of other technical sectors. So I wanted to point that out. All right. So what is the MATE ROV competition? Just a little background. It was created in 2001 in partnership with the Marine Technology Society's ROV committee. And I have to say that if anyone is interested in the ocean world, the Marine Technology Society is a fantastic professional society. It's an umbrella society for ocean professionals, from engineers to scientists to academics to policymakers. And they really are very supportive of students. There's a ton of scholarship money available through the Marine Technology Society for students who want to pursue ocean-related careers. So I'll put in a plug. And that's really what motivated the ROV committee to come to MATE back in, early 2000s, 2001, and really say, you know what, we want to work with you to develop a program that helps prepare students for our industry and also make students more aware of that there is this industry and there's career opportunities available. So we started working together. It was great to have this industry partnership that gave us an immediate connection with working professionals and practicing ROV pilots and technicians and the companies that hire them. So we created the competition. It started with a pilot regional in Monterey, and I should have pointed that out. I'm based in Monterey, California, central coast of California. It started with a pilot regional in Monterey in 2001, kind of a proof and a concept. And then we had our first world championship, we called it, in 2002. We called it a world championship. We had teams from the US and Canada, but we still called it World Championship, North American Competition, North American Championship, just didn't roll off the tongue. But we really have grown into a global program. The competition consists of a World Championship that's held in June, in non-COVID years held in June. And we have a network of 43 regionals that feed into it. So the majority of our regionals, because we're established with funding by the National Science Foundation, the majority of our regionals take place in the US, but we've got regionals in Saudi Arabia, in the UAE, and in Hong Kong, in China, in Canada, and we've just expanded globally. So it really is a global community of learners here that if you're interested, you're going to become part of. We have this progression of classes, and I'll talk about them in just a bit. Our competition, everything is under the MATE ROV competition umbrella. Some of you might be familiar with other robotics competitions like FIRST. There's FIRST Lego League for the younger kids, and then there's FIRST Technical Challenge and FIRST Robotics Competition, FRC, FTC. We are all under one umbrella. But the way we carve this out is we have this progression of classes. They start from beginner to advanced, and they really complement the educational pipeline. So we have students as young as upper elementary, through middle school, through high school, through community college and university, participate all under the MATE ROV competition umbrella. So with the competition, we really presented it as an entrepreneurial focus. And so we challenge teams of students to transform their teams into companies, to think of yourselves as a startup company that is going to design and build and market your products to working professionals who serve as judges. And it really, we always knew that the competition was really about teamwork and really about thinking differently and thinking creatively. But about 10, 11 years ago, we started having more of a proactive, really presenting it as, you're a business, right? And think of yourselves as entrepreneurs and think of yourselves as creating new technologies and new tools to solve real world problems. And that was really embraced by our community and the students in terms of how they present themselves and how they organize. So our theme and our underwater, the tasks that we focus on, they change each year. They're based on real world events and real world activities. And we present them in the form of an RFP, a request for proposals. So you look at it and it really is laid out, okay, here's the RFP, here's the organization that's putting it out there. And that's how we invite students and encourage them to respond and put their vehicle together. So I put some examples of the competition theme and the tasks that we've done in 2011. Some of the students might be a little young to remember that Deepwater Horizon oil wellhead blowout in the Gulf of Mexico. That happened in 2010. In 2011, we focused the competition on that, and we crafted this whole scenario around the Deepwater Horizon and challenged students with developing ROVs and other technologies to basically cap that wellhead and stop the flow of oil. In 2017, we happened to be down near Jared and near PCC, and we focused on port and harbor security centered on the Port of Long Beach. Just this past year, we focused on, I'm sure, hopefully there's a awareness of plastic pollution in the world oceans and how that's a huge issue and a huge challenge. And so while we didn't focus on solving the problem, because that takes a little bit more than made ROV competition to do that, we focused on remediating plastic pollution in the world oceans, studying the impact of climate change on coral reefs, and maintaining healthy waterways. And all of this is simulated at the bottom of a swimming pool or test tank. So my colleague, Matt Gardner, who's the competition technical manager, he's also a self-proclaimed PVC artist. I have seen him make ocean bottom seismometers and coral reefs out of PVC and pipe cleaners and duct tape and tie wraps, because you can't do anything without duct tape and tie wraps. And it's all simulated in the bottom of a swimming pool. And I also want to point out, we try to make our prompts, right, the game pieces, what you're going to be manipulating with your ROV, we try to make them out of everyday materials, because if we fabricate them or use some, water jets or laser cutters or something that's really complicated and expensive, the teams aren't going to be able to create a set of props to practice with. So we really try to keep it low cost. The competition also includes what we call an engineering and communication component. So yes, it's focused on an underwater robot, and you got to build that vehicle, but it's more than that. We want to really showcase that it takes this well-roundedness, all of these different things to make up a great team and to be successful in the competition and in the workplace. So we require technical documentation and company spec sheets. And I can share this presentation later, so no one has to be trying to write out the URLs here. But the technical documentation, we have them archived on our site, so you can go back and see how other students have prepared for the competition and built their vehicle. We also, our company spec sheets are basically like a one-pager, like a snapshot of the team, the company, and the robot. The engineering or oral presentations, these are one of my favorite things, because we don't allow the use of PowerPoint. It really is about, as you can see in the lower right-hand photo, it really is about students standing in front of a panel of judges with their vehicle and having this conversation with the judges about their vehicle and how they built it. Marketing displays, those are really poster displays. You can see one in the lower left-hand corner. And for those, we really encourage students to look at it and say, okay, if you were going to a conference, if you were going to a trade show, what marketing materials would you put together to present your ROV and to present your team? We also have a section called corporate responsibility. Again, we have this business theme, right? This entrepreneurial kind of corporate bent to our competition. And so corporate responsibility is really about giving back. We encourage students, they can earn points if they do beach cleanups, if they mentor younger teams, if they give presentations to community groups, if they contribute to the bigger picture. And then new in 2021, I think Jared knows about this, virtual reality assets. So we worked with our partners at the National Center for Autonomous Technologies to create the MATE ROV Competition VR world in alt space. You guys probably know a lot more about that than I do. I'm not a gamer. The whole alt space VR headset was new to me this year, but we created this virtual reality world because we knew that the competition, especially the World Championship, was still going to be impacted by COVID, and not all the students who want to participate were going to be able to be there in person. And so creating this VR space, this virtual world where students could create avatars and go into the space and interact and have that social experience and that networking that we know students value about our competition, that was what we tried to achieve. And I think we were successful at doing that with this VR world. So part of the world was essentially an exhibit hall for teams. And so they contributed logos and photos and CAD drawings, and we had a virtual exhibit hall. And I should share that link too, because you can still pop into the VR space and see the teams. It really turned out well. See the teams exhibit spaces and also just see the MATE ROV Competition VR world. So I mentioned this progression of learning, and I just wanted to touch upon it real quick. So we have 5 competition classes. Actually, we had 4 until this coming year. We're adding the Pioneer class, and they're divided again into Scout, Navigator, beginner to advanced, Scout, Navigator, Ranger, Pioneer, and Explorer. And so really for you all on the phone, the students and mentors, you'd likely focus on the Ranger, Pioneer, or even the Explorer class. I won't dig into the details of all of those, but I will say that the Pioneer class, it was actually motivated, the creation of the Pioneer class was motivated by a grant that I have, a special projects grant that I have through the ATE program that focuses on increasing community college participation in the MATE ROV competition. So I'll take a second to promote that grant, to share with you all, if Jared hasn't already, that PCC is part of cohort 1 of that grant, and will be received the tools already. We'll be receiving ROV kits and other support, resources, support in the form of resources, but also in terms of funding, to bring the students, to make sure the students make their way through preparing a vehicle and make their way to the World Championship. So again, I'll put a plug in for that. The grant, it's cohort 1. We're going to have 3 cohorts. So especially community colleges out there listening, if you're interested, talk to me, email me, because there is funding to support your participation and your implementing the program at your institution. So timeline duration, how our timeframe works. So the mission briefing that announces the theme and includes a background scenario and a list of the tasks, just a bulleted list of tasks. That's released in September. This year it was a little late. It just came out last Friday. It's on our website. What will follow from there are competition manuals. They have that's the devil in the details, right? That's the big book that's really the RFP that I talked about earlier, lays out what the tasks are, lays out all the designing and building specifications, lays out the rules, talks about the engineering and communication components. Those are going to be released, fingers crossed, by the end of November. Registration for the competitions will open December 1st. As competition events get their dates and get their locations, we can open registration. Regional competitions take place in April and May, and then the World Championship in non-COVID years is held in June. And that's what we're aiming to do this coming season, move it back to June. So the challenges, just real brief here. The 2022 challenges were they're all under the auspices, if you will, of the UN Decade of the Ocean, and MATE inspires ESG. That's a term that I hope you're going to be hearing more of: environmental social governance. it's a term of so many more corporations. It's encouraging to see so many corporations are taking ESG factors into consideration when they make business decisions. How does my business practice affect the environment? How does it affect, society? How does the governance really, how is my company set up? What's the culture here? Is it welcoming? Is it inviting? Does it allow for creativity? Does it support my workers? Am I going to be able to attract the best and the brightest if I create this culture within my workplace of collaboration and communication? The challenges for this year, you can see them. They are focused on marine renewable energy, offshore wind farms, and the roles that ROVs play in installation and maintenance of offshore wind farms, offshore aquaculture, and blue carbon. So I showed you that picture at the beginning about the ROV being in the offshore aquaculture pen doing inspection of the netting. That's going to be a task that will be challenge put out there for students to embrace and prepare for. Blue carbon's all about, I did not know this, but seagrasses and mangrove forests, they are hugely important in sequestering carbon dioxide. I think seagrasses are much more efficient than rainforests at sequestering carbon dioxide. So we've got a competition challenge that focuses on essentially planting seagrass agriculture, planting seagrass beds and pruning seagrass beds. And the last one, the Antarctic then and now. This is really exciting. And even if you're not going to jump into the MADE ROV competition, there's an expedition that's going to start in February. It's being funded by Falklands Maritime Heritage Trust. They're setting off on an expedition to look for Shackleton's Endurance. So they're going to go to Antarctica, to the Weddell Sea, and search for the shipwreck and hopefully find it and document it. So that's a challenge that we're simulating in this year's competition. So how do you get started? Well, maybe I should say instead of 2022, if you're not ready for this year, let's say 2023, but the product demonstration and specs briefing is posted. Like I said, it was a little bit late, but it's on our website. As far as getting organized as a team, consider who and what skill sets you're going to need on your team. And I think this is one of the things that we really try to communicate to students as they come together, right? You don't have to know everything, right? Maybe you're the computer programmer and you're the one that's going to put the control system together, but who else in your circle of fellow students has a skill set that you need, like for managing a budget or putting together your poster display or creating your buoyancy system. So the whole is greater than the sum of the parts when you're creating a MADE ROV competition team. Research, the technical documentations and company spec sheets that are on our site provide a wealth of information on how previous teams have prepared for the competition, created their vehicle, have created the tooling. It's a wealth of information. You get a lot of how they've approached the problem. Their budgets are in there, the materials that they've used. So they're really a great resource. You can consider starting with the CMADE ROV kit, which is making its way to Jared and the students and mentors there at PCC. We have these kits, they're starter kits, are available on our store. They're not meant to help you win the competition, and they don't provide all the tooling or all the answers to solving the mission tasks, but they give you a basic vehicle to start with. And along, it's not just the vehicle and it's not just following the instructions to put it together. There's instructional resources, there's activities, there's this whole learning process that goes along with it. The competition manuals, again, they're going to come out at the end of November, fingers crossed, and they really provide, again, the details, all of the information that you need to prepare for this thing. And they also have more information on those competition classes, so they can help you really dial in what class you want to start with and hopefully advance from there, and then register to compete when registration opens. So I always kind of wrap up presentations with this photo. It's from the 2018 World Championship. And I love this photo because it really represents what the MADE competition is all about, this global community of learners. I love all the colors, the colorful ROVs, the students. We've got students represented here from Washington State, from North Carolina, from Egypt, from Texas, from the UAE, all represented here. And it's really, that's what it's about. It's about this whole global community of learners and really challenging them to solve these real world problems and putting their creativity to helping us all address these issues that are impacting all of us. So with that, I'll end and I'll leave you there with my email address. And again, I can share the slide presentation so you have access to the links. But our new tagline, take blue tech to new depths.
All right, cool. Thanks. Will PCC be competing in the beginners category?
I would recommend, Jared, that you enter the Pioneer class.
So we don't get is it the Explorers, the beginner one?
No, the Explorer is the advanced class.
Oh, we don't want that one. We don't want that one. All right. So we're gonna be what's the beginners called?
The beginner is the scout. You don't want to be with that. You don't want to be with
that. I really do. I really do. I think we would have a chance. Like we probably wouldn't win that one, but we'd have a chance.
So I will tell you, the Pioneer class, it was motivated. It's not on our website yet in terms of the description, but we created that specifically for first-time community college and university teams, right? You want to get started. You don't want to jump into the Explorer class with the heavy hitters like Purdue University, who's competed forever. But you can start there and spend a couple years in the Pioneer class to get your feet wet and get the experience before advancing, if you choose to.